Hello and welcome to the Federal. The election campaign for Maharashtra and Jharkhand, the two poll-bound states, is in full swing, and the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, who's leading the campaign, so to speak, for his party in both these states, has been canvassing on, of course, predictable lines in both these states. He was in Maharashtra the other day, a couple of days back when he was in Jharkhand. There were two issues which he invariably raises in several of his poll speeches. Uh, and these were the issues of Parivarvad and Bhrashtachar, corruption and dynastic politics. Now, I ordinarily would not have done this broadcast because the when there are electoral speeches, all kinds of things are said. There's it's usually best to leave it to the viewer, to the electorate to decide what they want to believe, what they want to discard from an electoral speech of any political leader. But this is something that has been part of the BJP's ammunition against its rivals for a long time. And time and again, of course, uh, facts about it have been given out. And since the Prime Minister talked about Parivarvad and Bhrashtachar, corruption and dynastic politics again, and accused his rivals, the BJP's rivals in both these states, and primarily the Congress party in Maharashtra and Jharkhand, and of course also the regional outfits, whether it is the JMM in Jharkhand or Mr. Sharad Pawar's faction of the NCP in Maharashtra, or Mr. Uddhav Thackeray's faction of the Shiv Sena UBT in Maharashtra. He's talked about how these are parties that are led by dynasts. Their politics is about family, their politics is about dynasty, and they are also, all of them are essentially people who are corrupt, and which is why the electorate should not choose them and choose the BJP instead. I wouldn't dwell into the dynasts of the Congress or the NCP or the JMM. It's not something that is new. It's something that by now everybody knows. Dynasties in politics exist, they thrive. Every political party has their own share of dynasty. But I would like to use this broadcast to specifically highlight about the BJP's own double speak on this issue, and primarily in these two states. It's been happening in the BJP in every other state, election after election. But I wouldn't want to go into details of those because those elections are done. People who had to be elected have been elected. Those who had to be defeated have been defeated. I'll speak specifically in the case of Maharashtra and Jharkhand. Now, interesting that the Prime Minister talks about dynasty politics in Maharashtra, about Parivarvad and corruption in Maharashtra. Because, when the first list of candidates of the BJP came out, it had 99 names. Out of those 99 names, over a dozen, over 12 names came from political dynasties or were not people who one would call first generation politicians. The BJP's, you know, current deputy chief minister, former chief minister, and aspiring chief minister for the future, Mr. Devendra Fadnavis, for example, is the son of a former MLA of the BJP, Mr. Gangadhar Fadnavis. There are, I wouldn't go into every single name because that list becomes very long. I mean, there are over 10% of the BJP's candidates are actually from political dynasties and or political families in Maharashtra. There is, as I pointed out, Mr. Devendra Fadnavis. You've got Mr. Santosh Dande, whose father is a former union minister, Mr. Rao Sahib Dande, a very powerful BJP leader in Maharashtra. You've got Nilesh Rane. Now, Mr. Rane's case is very interesting because you've got Mr. Nilesh Rane, who's the son of former union minister Mr. Narayan Rane, a very controversial but a very powerful figure from the Konkan region of Maharashtra. His son, Mr. Nilesh Rane, has been given a ticket from the BJP. He has another son, Mr. Nitesh Rane, who the BJP could not accommodate as a candidate because dynasty. And so his other son, Mr. Nitesh Rane, was loaned by the BJP to its ally, Mr. Eknath Shinde's faction of the Shiv Sena, and is contesting as a candidate of the Shiv Sena of Mr. Eknath Shinde. So both the sons of Mr. Narayan Rane are contesting as part of the Mahayuti alliance, as candidates of the Mahayuti, of which the BJP, Mr. Shinde's Shiv Sena, and Mr. Ajit Pawar's NCP are a part. Mr. Ajit Pawar, a key ally of the BJP in Maharashtra, comes from the Pawar dynasty, Mr. Sharad Pawar's family. That family was, one would say, broken by the BJP, and one half of that dynasty is now part of the BJP's alliance. One hears the Prime Minister talk about corruption, and it's important to remind not just the viewers, but perhaps also, with due respect to the Prime Minister, that it was he who led a very strident, a very scathing attack on Mr. Ajit Pawar before Mr. Ajit Pawar split from the NCP and split from the NCP and the NCP and formed his own faction of the NCP because he was one of the key accused in what's popularly called the irrigation scam. After coming into the BJP alliance, of course, those charges have been dropped. The cases, most of the cases against him have been closed. Corruption. Mr. Narayan Rane, whose sons now find a candidature from the BJP and Mr. Shinde's Shiv Sena, was an accused in a money laundering scam. Corruption again. Then you've got several other dynasts. Mr. Ashok Chavan, and again, dynasts connected with people who the BJP not very long ago used to charge of corruption. You've got Mr. Ashok Chavan. The BJP went hammer and tongs against him on the Adarsh scam. He joined the BJP before the Lok Sabha elections, is now a Rajya Sabha MP, comes from a very illustrious and powerful political dynasty, Congress political dynasty from Maharashtra. His father, Mr. Shankar Rao Chavan, was also Chief Minister of Maharashtra. And now the BJP has given a ticket to his daughter, Sri Jaya Chavan. So, that's just Maharashtra, and I've just given you three names, and there are several others. There are sons, daughters, daughters-in-law, then brothers, wives of established political leaders, political dynasties, people who are either influential across the state of Maharashtra or across one or two or three constituencies, regions. Their political heft may vary, but none of them are first generation politicians, so to speak. That's just Maharashtra. Jharkhand. extremely interesting things happening there when it comes to the BJP's talk of Parivarvad. One of the key attacks that the Prime Minister and the BJP is in charge for Jharkhand, Mr. Himanta Biswa Sharma, the Assam Chief Minister, has been making against Hemant Soren of dynasty politics. Now, Jharkhand is a small state. The BJP is contesting an alliance with the AJSU. So its share of uh, you know candidates is practically half of what they're contesting in Maharashtra. But roughly 10% of its candidates, even in Jharkhand, come from political dynasties. And most interesting aspect of it is that all former chief ministers of the BJP in Jharkhand have found their kin on the candidate list of the BJP. Mr. Arjun Munda, former chief minister, union minister, his wife has been fielded by the BJP. Mr. Madhu Koda, a very controversial figure in Jharkhand, was in jail, was convicted in a coal scam case. He, of course, uh, was chief minister of Jharkhand as part of the UPA. But then his wife, Geeta Koda, a former MP, defected to the BJP and is now a candidate of the BJP. Again, not just a dynasty, but also one that is tainted by the charge of corruption and charges that the BJP used to raise very strongly not very long ago. Mr. Raghuvar Das, another former chief minister of Jharkhand, currently the governor of Orissa, his daughter-in-law, Purnima Das, is the BJP's candidate from Jamshedpur East. And, you know, Mr. Raghubar Das, dis, despite being the governor, as governor, since he holds a constitutional post, he is supposed to keep a distance from politics, partisan politics. And he's been campaigning for his daughter-in-law. He's sort of taken a leave of absence from his uh, duties as governor of Orissa. He's been camping in Jamshedpur East and campaigning for his daughter-in-law, which one might say is also unconstitutional. The Election Commission, of course, isn't acting on it. So then there is the Soren family itself, who the BJP is targeting for dynasty politics, Mr. Hemant Soren. And there is no denying that there is dynasty politics there. You've got Mr. Hemant Soren contesting from Barhet, his traditional seat. You've got his wife, Kalpana Soren, contesting from Gandhir. You've got his brother, Mr. Basant Soren, contesting from Dumka. So one is not denying dynasty politics in the JMM. Uh, as I said right in the beginning, it exists, it thrives. What I am merely canvassing is the BJP's double speak on this. Because again, from that family, Mr. Hemant Soren's sister-in-law, Miss Sita Soren, the widow of Mr. Hemant Soren's brother, Durga Soren, is a candidate of the BJP. So for the viewers, and especially if there are any listeners from Maharashtra or from Jharkhand, your uh, your choices in the election need to be informed. And so this is merely to tell you that ultimately whoever you choose to vote for is of course your choice. But the talk of parivarvad, of corruption, is something that you need to weigh very carefully when you're told that these are the evils. Remember, Mr. Narendra Modi, on his first Independence Day speech in his third term as Prime Minister, which is on the 15th of August of this year, had said again on the issue of Parivarvad, and he'd called Parivarvad and Bhrashtachar, two of the main evils of the Indian political landscape. And he had said that he's taking a pledge to introduce at least 1 lakh youth who are without any political background, who are basically first generation politicians, into the electoral system of India. It's not been very long since that speech, but we haven't really seen that happening when it comes to actual practice. The BJP has been relying very heavily on dynasts. It's not just relying on its own dynasts where need be, it's poaching dynasts and dynasts with charges of corruption also, or whose family members have been tainted by charges of corruption. It's poaching them from other parties, whether it is Mr. Ashok Chavan from the Congress in Maharashtra, Sita Soren from the JMM in Jharkhand, Haryana, which went to polls recently, again was full of the BJP's list was full of dynasts, several of whom were poached from the Congress, several of whom have had cases of corruption against them in the past. And so it's important to distinguish between political rhetoric, electoral rhetoric, and facts, because facts don't lie.